Happy Thursday, everybody. Welcome into another episode of The Rubber Match. Excited for y'all to be back. We've got another show this week, another loaded show. Very excited to be joined alongside Arkansas softball beat writer Ethan Westerman. He'll hop on the show in a couple of minutes. But as we always do, let's go through our housekeeping stuff. And we'll talk about softball primarily with Ethan, so we'll do a little bit of baseball beforehand, and then we'll wrap up the show and a couple of breaks. But what I want to start with is kind of the two records of these teams. You've got softball, who's an absolute wagon right now, 13-1, outscoring their opponents. I think it's like 123 to 46, the number of which this offense has been productive this year for Courtney Deifel has been awesome to watch. We'll talk about that, fully break all of that stuff down with Ethan coming up in a little bit. But let's talk about baseball because that's what everybody wants to know. It's been a weird week for the Razorbacks. You come home, have your home opener last weekend, you're able to sweep Xavier. And a couple of the games were a lot closer than you really needed. A walk-off on Saturday, a close game Friday, finally a blowout when Colin Fisher looked spectacular throwing a one-hitter on Sunday. Then you host A-State. If you go back to 1947, Arkansas has dominated in-state opponents. I believe the number was 28-5 going into Tuesday's game against teams that called the Natural State home here in Arkansas. It's been all Razorbacks. And then it wasn't. I mean, Arkansas State came in. I was at that game, the first game I got to go see this year in person, and it was rough. I mean, it was really just like one bad inning that snowballed. 6 runs in that second inning. Peyton Lee giving up that monster home run to Ash Quiller. It was a grand slam that really pushed it over the edge. But the concern, I think, of this weekend, in my opinion, and the trend the first couple of weeks is this Arkansas offense. If you look at it, it's hard to compare to 2025 because this team isn't the same, right? That team went to Omaha. That team was arguably one of the best offenses in school history. And if you look at this year and the numbers, the first, 9 games or so, it's telling. I mean, the clutch hits aren't there. Dave Van Horn has said it himself that he's a little bit concerned. You look at extra base hits through 9 games. In 2025, there were 36. In 2027, there are 27. So it's just not the same output that this Razorback offense is getting in 2026, and that to me is the concern. The big hits aren't coming. You brought in guys like Mike Anu, like TJ Pompey to be some offensive help, and they've kind of been the opposite. It's been Damian Ruiz, but then again, this whole Arkansas team is battling the flu the last week and a half, so Ruiz hasn't played in a while. Cam Kojal got sent home before Tuesday's game, so he didn't play in the midweek. It's just a lot of question marks. Mike Anu's hitting 250, does have 2 home runs this season, but the power for this lineup, which is Ryder Helfrich and Cam Kojal, they've got 4 home runs. We'll get to our home run tracker with the Hawaiian Hammer in just a bit, but you're not getting consistency in extra base hits from anybody really in clutch moments. That's what's really concerning is this team has not been clutch. The pitching staff, everything we build it up to be and more. We'll talk about and go straight to our K counter with Gabe Gackle. He has looked the part of an ace so far this year, slowly building up, right? 4-ish to start the season in Arlington, 5.1 this past weekend. His K count is up to 16, 7 strikeouts against Xavier. And Xavier's a good mid-major team. Like, let's give credit where credit's due. They are a good mid-major team. But A-State, who Coach Silva's been building that program as well, and I'll give them their flowers, you would like to think that Arkansas would be able to win the midweek games. Look, I believe last year they only scored under 5 runs in a midweek once, and we're at 2 midweek games, and we've seen a total of 5 runs. So it is a bit concerning for this Razorback team. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. I am nervous. I think everybody is nervous, but there's a heck of a lot of time till we get there. I mean, if we look at our K count right here, Gackle's at 16, or Hawaiian Hammers, you've got Kahio Aloy at 3 for the season, so things are good. Here's where it's going to get dicey this week for me. You've got our infield and outfield right now. If you'll notice, I have Damian Ruiz in here, hoping that he will play and be healthy enough to play in a couple of days, or really, on Friday against UT Arlington. Mike Anu, Aloy, that's your outfield. The biggest change, I don't have Camden Kojal on here this week, and that's because DVH said he's not sure Camden will be healthy enough to play. So I've got Nolan Souza, who he made his infield debut this past week after that shoulder injury last April. So he's back playing the infield, played third base on Tuesday, second base yesterday. Carson Brumbaugh, TJ Pompey, Reese Robinette. And then I've got Zach Stewart DHing. I think Stewart is going to add some power that this team desperately needs. I mean, if we look at his numbers right now, 417 hitting off the bench typically, 5 hits, 12 at-bats, 2 home runs. He's got power, 3 RBI. It's just maybe not the numbers that you would like to see just yet. And I think, again, a lot of this hinges on, can Nolan Souza play third base, which we've seen he can, and DVH said that he'll get more and more comfortable as the time goes on. And eventually, you can get Stewart in the DH role, Kojal at second, and Carson Brumbaugh has been great in the infield, but the numbers at bat, hitting 103, 3 for 29, it's been a tough adjustment and start, and it usually always is for true freshmen who are starting at shortstop. One of the hardest positions to play in the infield, but not necessarily the way that I think Carson Brumbaugh wanted his season to start, and not really the way DVH and company wanted this season to start. But I want to give flowers right now to Colin Fisher. He has been incredible. 13 innings pitched, only given up 2 hits, 19 strikeouts. Gabe Gackle is your ace, and there's questions around Hunter Dietz. But if Colin Fisher can do what he does consistently, then man, what a power upgrade this gives that rotation. A true 1-2, maybe a true 1-2-3 we haven't seen here in Fayetteville in quite some time. If Hunter Dietz can kind of figure out his Saturday stuff, and I believe he will, because look at the options in the bullpen. I mean, Tate McGuire has been really good so far this season. You had Parker Coyle, James DeCramer, as well as Steele Eves, who have been monsters and had that one hitter against a good A-State offense the other day. So a lot to like there from the Arkansas offense. But all right, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're talking all things Arkansas softball. Ethan Westerman going to join the show. That's on the other side of these messages from our sponsors. Stay tuned. The Rubber Match returns after this. All right, back here on the show, excited to be joined, as we always are, to talk softball by one of the best beat writers here in Northwest Arkansas covering Courtney Deifel's team. That's Ethan Westerman. Ethan, thanks for joining me. Look, we got to talk about this team. They are fun, they are good, and they just beat the living crap out of other teams. I think they've scored 123 runs so far this season. Overall, everyone isn't surprised about the pitching when you return everybody and add some really good freshmen, and we'll get to that. But are you surprised at the level of offense that this team's able to produce without the likes of Bree Ellis and Courtney Day?
I mean, I think you have to be impressed by it. I mean, I think you lowballed them a little bit. They have 146 runs right now.
Ooh.
So it's one of those things. It's like the stats are they're crazy. I mean, this lineup up and down is just producing, and I think that's what's so impressive is they don't necessarily have like the big bopper like Bree Ellis or Courtney Day from a year ago. They have some that are definitely capable. I mean, Tiana Bell has crushed some home runs this year. Ella McDowell, her power numbers seem to be up this year. They have players that are certainly capable of hitting a lot of home runs, but they don't like rely on two players as much as they did last year. They're just very versatile. I think that they got a lineup that, up and down it, they have different strengths. I've been impressed really with kind of the veteran players on the team so far that are, even doing better things than they did in the past. Like Kaylee Wyckoff, she's having a phenomenal start here. She's batting 472. She's just a doubles machine. Carly Davison coming off of a labrum injury where she had to get surgery and miss the whole fall. She's on a tear, 438 batting average. She's, hit 3 home runs, 5 doubles. I think that you've just got a team right now that there's really no breath in the lineup, if that makes sense. Like the pitcher is never exhaling and being like, oh, great, I'm at the 7, 8, 9 hole because they're producing too.
Does it play, do you think, to this team's mentality strength that, to your point, there is no big star in the lineup and that every single person is contributing?
I think so. I mean, I think that really, if you look at this team, what makes them so great is that they're just so versatile. I think that it's like you have your speedsters at the top with Reagan Johnson and Dakota Kennedy. I mean, they've been pretty aggressive so far this year, stealing bases too. That stood out to me. I mean, the team is 15 for 15 on stolen bases. It's like if Reagan Johnson gets on, it feels like she's like she's getting second base. And so they have that at the top, and then they have a lot of power. Like everybody the rest of the way, and even Dakota Kennedy has the power pop. She can hit home runs, but like everybody throughout is like a home run threat, if that makes sense. Like, and this team doubles a lot too. They're getting a lot of extra base hits. They've got 38 doubles on the season. I just think that they are like they're so versatile, and there's a lot of righties, a lot of lefties in the lineup, where it's just like pitchers are having to constantly make adjustments and I mean, this team is, like you said, kind of just dogging people right now.
It's the balance that I don't think we've seen from a Courtney Deifel team in a very long time. I know the baseball listeners of this podcast are hoping for the same thing from that team when it comes to clutch hits and extra base hits, and they're not getting it. But if you go over to Bogle Park, you'll pretty much see a home run every couple innings. What's funny to me is that you touched on a lot of players, but I think the biggest surprise so far this year is Brinley Bain in the start that she's been off to, hitting 515 to open the season as a freshman.
Yeah, and I mean, we heard a lot of great things about her. I mean, even at their fall like schedule against their exhibitions, she was really showing out then. But it's one thing to do it then and to get talked about a lot in the preseason. Courtney Deifel said that Brinley Bain like raised their. She said we have a team full of workers, and she raised the bar there. Like she came in as a freshman and just was like outworking everybody apparently. It's one thing to do that in the preseason. It's another to roll around to the games, and she's still doing it. I mean, to be batting like that. This is for comparison's sake. I'm not. This is probably a weird comparison to make with Arkansas basketball. It's fresh on my mind because we just watched them last night. But you know
Yeah.
how that team, it's like whenever they're playing at their best, they can beat everybody. They can beat anybody when they're like playing their game.
Mm-hmm.
That's how this softball team feels to me. And they have like how the basketball team has a star freshman with Darius Acuff. They have like Brinley Bain, this freshman who's just coming in and just lighting up other pitchers. She's also thrown out a couple runners, if she's played catcher. She's super versatile. They can plug her anywhere. But this team, it's like they have a really good freshman in Brinley Bain that I wouldn't be surprised if by the end of the season we're hearing her name in talks for a lot of, big freshman awards. But they've got a team that when they're clicking, I really do think they can beat anybody right now.
And it's almost in vein of Kennedy Miller, who was kind of that a couple of years ago for this team of like, oh, she's going to be that next stud, that comes through this program and really is the heart of the order in a couple of years. And here we are down the line. And we're not talking about Kennedy Miller, how I think we thought we'd be talking about her in 2024 when she was a freshman.
Yeah, but then what's crazy is Kennedy Miller's been great this season too, but it's like they just have so many pieces. It's like hard to figure it out. I mean, she's been Kennedy's caught some games. She's played in the designated player role. She's batting 389. She hit a grand slam in one of their earlier tournaments. She has 10 RBI. Like it's like they just have so many options right now that it's honestly got to be pretty great, I would think, from a catcher's perspective, to where they don't like have to especially on these weekends when they're playing, 5 or 6 games, like you don't have to catch every single one of them. You have options. That's what's so crazy about this team is they just have so many options that it almost feels like you can't go wrong a lot of times with this lineup. I mean, for instance, Ramsey Walker, she's come in as a pinch hitter quite a bit. I think she got her first start last week in 2 in a game. She's hitting 563 as a sophomore. Granted, 16 at bats, but still. Like it just feels like whenever they put together this lineup, it's hard to go super wrong because everybody's producing. I think Kennedy Miller's having honestly like a really great bounce back year from last year. Right now, it's just trying to figure out where they play her.
It's a good problem to have, right? Like you would rather have all of this depth and not know what to do with it than on the baseball side where you feels like there isn't a lot of depth and you're scrambling because guys are sick over there. It's a different story, but like you're trying to find these power numbers and consistency for baseball that it's not there in the softball team up and down the lineup. It feels like you have it. I mean, we haven't even talked about Italia Rio yet, who is one of the best shortstops in the entire SEC. Not to mention Ella McDowell, who you've kind of touched on her, but she's taken a step forward this year and has been kind of that, filler of that void leadership-wise for this team, even though she's not even a captain yet.
Yeah, and I think that what you're seeing is last year in their postseason run, it was honestly like the team had relied on Brie Ellis and Courtney Day so much during the whole season. Um, and then it come postseason time, all of a sudden, kind of the supporting cast. Courtney Day had a really great postseason too, but a lot of the supporting cast of players that you just mentioned, like Italia Rijo, Ella McDowell, Kaylee Wyckoff, they really stepped up in postseason. And I think that that's what made like kind of their roster retention, where they didn't lose any players to the transfer portal, which is just crazy in today's climate. It tells you a lot about, I guess player happiness with the culture there and just like kind of the vision of the staff.
Yeah.
But it was all these like kind of supporting cast players last year who stepped up in the postseason and really produced. And it's like it's not only that they've carried it into this season, it feels like they've even taken a step further where they're really starting to hit their stride. And the thing is, it's not like I think there's a tendency early in the season to like hear these numbers and kind of dismiss them because it's just non-conference. But It's not like these are like ghost numbers they're putting up against bad teams. Like they have really actually challenged themselves the first few weeks of the season. It's not like they've gone to the Clearwater Invitational like a lot of teams and played, in 3 days like top 15 teams. But these teams that they're beating good teams soundly is what I'm trying to say. It's we haven't seen them, go up against like a Texas Tech or name another really good non-conference
Yeah.
team in the non-conference. But they've gone up against solid non-conference teams. Like Northwestern's always good in the Big Ten. Virginia is ranked right now. They played them at the start. It's that they've beaten them very like handily. That's the biggest, thing that jumps out to me. Even Texas State, who they went and run ruled to Kappa that tournament down there in San Marcos. Texas State is one of the best mid majors and has the preseason pitcher of the year and player of the year in that conference. So they've just really taken it to teams, and it's been a lot of these returners that have been, the ones that have kind of provided.
And it's fun to see, right? Like the returners coming back. It kind of felt like Ole Miss last year, right? In the postseason, they had 1 to 9. They were getting on base, moving runners over, doing all that. It feels like Courtney Neifel kind of used a little bit of that formula when you lose somebody like Brie Ellis, who's invaluable no matter where she goes, and you try to be more balanced and try to be athletic 1 to 9. It's really fun to watch. But I know we could talk about the hitters forever. I do want to touch on the pitchers in the circle, and they have been great. Robin Herron, I mean, man, we knew she was going to take another step forward this year. It just feels like it's to a whole other level where she's already thrown a no-hitter. The perfect game, in my opinion, it's coming. Someone's going to throw a perfect game soon. The question is who it's going to be. And it just feels like, again, when you return so much in the circle, that it's just you have the options, and it's there on the lineup, and it's there on the pitching staff as well.
Yeah, and this is what stands out to me about the pitching staff right now. Last year, they actually had a really good, I don't know it off the top of my head, but opponent batting average was low. That was a great thing. Their biggest problem last year, they got in trouble with free passes. I mean, it was like opponents would, get two on with walks, and then they get the two out RBI single. And that's like how they scored. It was like just capitalizing on Arkansas, putting them on base more. This is the number that stands out about the pitching staff right now: 103 strikeouts to 28 walks. That's a really good ratio. That's a
Mm-hmm.
ratio that'll get it done. And Robin Herron, I mean, she's the centerpiece of it. She's got if you think 103 to 28 strikeout to walk is impressive, Robin Herron's is 49 strikeouts to 4 walks. 49 to 4 is her strikeout to walk. She's just making opponents have to earn it against a defense that's really good. I mean, this defense I think is second nationally right now, 991 fielding average, fielding percentage, and you knew that they would be good because they returned everybody, and then they added a Gold Glover in left field and Tiana Bell, who's really good at first base. You knew they'd be good defensively, and it's like Robin Herron realizes, hey, I don't have to always be perfect because I've got a defense that will take care of me. And then like she's still had like a few like slip ups, like the Northwestern game this past weekend, where like no pitcher was having success against that Northwestern lineup as the game wore on because I think they'd just seen each other so much. But she still came in when it was crunch time and got the game-ending strikeout. If she's a couple home runs in that game that she gave up away from like honestly, you even still could put her in this conversation, but the numbers would just straight up say like she's got to be in the conversation for the nation's best pitcher at the moment.
Yeah.
Before those home runs, I think, because I mean, those changed her ERA to a whopping 1.33. Like, really
What a
killed
tough
the
life we
target.
have, Ethan, that we're sitting here complaining that Robin Herron has a 1.33 ERA, and
Yeah,
that's your
the
ace.
fact that I'm about to say the fact that a couple home runs in one game, got that ERA over one. It's so no, but yeah, I mean, she's so good. She's been really good, and it's been something you see coming a long way that she'd get better as her career progressed because she's always been, I think, one of those driven players to get better. She's one that really took the mental aspect of the game seriously, going between her freshman and sophomore years, and it's like she hasn't looked back is the thing. So to see
Yeah.
her hitting her stride as a senior. It doesn't make it not any more impressive because I think that especially in softball, like it's hard to maintain being a really good pitcher throughout your career whenever like the scouting report gets out on you.
Yeah.
But she's improved every single year, and she's like completely stepped into that ace role this year.
And what's crazy too is it's like she doesn't even really need to be your ace. If we look at, I'm going to read the stats really quickly. The players in the staff that have over 14 innings. It's Cam Harrison besides Robin. Cam, Peyton Burnham, Sailor Timmerman. Cam Harrison, a 3.0 ERA. Peyton Burnham, 1.13 ERA. Sailor Timmerman, 0.44 ERA. Those, I mean, that's all. You go to pretty much everywhere except maybe Texas Tech, Texas, and Oklahoma. They're aces on any other staff in the entire country.
Yeah, and this whole staff, like that's what's crazy is I think we're gonna go into weekends this year. In the past, watching this program, it was like you knew last year, like Robin Herron's gonna throw game one, Peyton Burnham will probably throw game two, and then whoever had the better showing will throw game three. I mean, they might follow somewhat of that blueprint again this year, but it really does feel like on most weekends, like you have a freshman with Sailor Timmerman that you can't just like what she's doing. You can't not trust her to go out there
Right.
against SEC teams. I think that these pitchers this year have to feel like, hey, if I don't have it, somebody else can. They had the game against Northwestern where really it felt like nobody had it in that last game, but then you have an offense that's just going to outslug them. It's like I just think that these pitchers feel this freedom this year of number one, knowing they have each other they can rely on, that there's a lot of good pitchers in the bullpen if they don't have it, and then they also know like, hey, got an offense that even if you're not at your best, like you have an offense that's going to score. So they just have a lot going for them right now. They've had a couple hiccups this year, like they lost to Virginia in their third game of the year. They had the battle with Northwestern, but like most of the time they're just like absolutely demolishing people.
Tough problem to have. Like we've already mentioned, a lot of tough problems that this team has that, any fan should get over to Bogle Park and go and see the ladies play. And as we start to ramp up, right? Like this is kind of the last weekend of non-conference play. Then you get to SEC play. What do you have your eye on most? What do you want to see this weekend in the Woo Pig Classic that will tell you, all right, this team, and we already know they can compare with the top teams in the conference, but it's a tough conference schedule. You've got to go to Texas. You've got to go to Oklahoma. You'll have Florida here. I think they have Auburn as well, Georgia. It's not easy. What will tell you that this team is ready to go this weekend at the Woo Pig Classic?
I think if there's no let up against these teams, because listen, people would look at this schedule for this weekend and be like, oh, whoop-de-doo, they got Omaha and Charlotte and Boise and Kansas coming down. If you look at the mid-major top 25 that D1 softball does, Omaha's number two in that. I think Charlotte's number seven, Boise State's number 20 or so. Like these are good mid-majors that really are going to be a challenge. I think if there's no let up against these teams, it'll tell me a lot. I'm also looking at the top of the lineup. Reagan Johnson, Dakota Kennedy, both, there's no question they are elite players. They're both really good. I just don't think we've seen it click necessarily at the top how it can and how it will. I would love to see this weekend them set the table at the top a little bit better than they did last weekend. It's not like, and you look at the numbers, I mean, like they're still producing for sure. It's just, I think that there's still more there, more out of the lemon that can get squeezed. And I think that once you see the top of the lineup produce, because like this past weekend, the bottom really came through. And it's like if you get the top and the bottom both clicking like that, it's just like I just think that this whole lineup is gonna I don't know. It's one of the scariest lineups I think in the SEC. That's what I want to see this weekend. Is it just no let up in the lineup? Which it's hard to nitpick on this team like what you want to see because they've
Right.
been so good. But I just think that I would like to see maybe more consistency throughout the lineup. And then if you can, hold down some of these teams coming to town with your pitching, I just think they've got to feel really good going into conference play.
And yeah, that's where you want. Look, you want to be playing good right now, but you want to be clicking on all cylinders come the tournament time, so this team can finally get over the hump and get to Oklahoma City for the first time. Ethan, last thing, and then we'll let you go because I want to talk about this. You mentioned this a little bit ago about the player retention year in and year out for Courtney Deifel. This team especially has so many players back from 2025, hungry, ready to go for 2026. You talked about it a little bit, but why is it so important and it's so rare in this day and age that you don't get player retention with the portal NIL that Courtney Deifel is able to do it in 2026 and what seemingly has been for the last 5, 6 years?
Yeah, I think that number one, I don't think that it's always like this. I mean, they've had a few, recent years where they did have some players transfer out, and sometimes it's like there's a lot of factors there. I think that a lot of times it's, maybe homesickness. Maybe it's you have a better opportunity somewhere else to see the field. I mean, sometimes it's a mutual agreement, like, hey, you probably need to go seek playing somewhere else. I think that it's just a very rare group that they have this year, that they were a part of something last year that really felt like, I mean, I don't think anybody on that team last year like didn't think they were going to Oklahoma City, if that makes
Yeah.
sense. Like they were as shocked as like whenever they got eliminated on their home field to Ole Miss in game three of that super regional, I think it was a pure shock because that team just had so much belief. Like, I mean, and it felt like it was the year. They had the player of the year. They had all these players. They were having fun. They had two good pitchers, and it just felt like it had to be the year. I think that a lot of the players on this team that returned and didn't go seek playing somewhere else, I think it probably felt like a lot of unfinished business, I would
Mhm.
say. And I think that you have to credit the staff, like Courtney Deifel, the culture they've built, where players they like each other, they like the coaches, they like what Razorback softball is. But I also think that this is a group that probably had a really bad taste in their mouth at the end of the season and said, "Hey, we know what we have, we know what we can be. Let's run it back and let's see if we can actually do it this time." And I think they have the team that could do it. I don't think it's a matter of if they'll make it to Oklahoma City under Courtney Deifel. It really is when. And it feels like this team is I mean, Robin Herron said it after her no hitter. I asked her, like, how determined is this senior class? And she said, we want it so bad. And it's just like, I think that's the vibe around this team. It's a veteran team that likes each other. They know they're good. They know they can make it to Oklahoma City. And they probably honestly have, like, we say Oklahoma City, but if you've been around that, around the club, they actually they'll set their goals bigger. I mean, they've mentioned national championship before. Like they just have big goals around there, and I
Yeah.
think that they have a team right now that is all bought in.
Absolutely. Ethan, that's going to do it for us right now. We'll be right back after this break. Big thank you to joining us. I can't wrap it up any better, but we'll close the show after this. All right, guys, a big thank you to Ethan Westerman for joining the podcast. Sorry, my camera's a little funky. We'll fix that real quickly. But yeah, great conversation with Ethan. Was a lot of fun getting him on the show, talking softball, all things you need to know. Now, where I will wrap the show today. Obviously, as always, thank you guys at home for watching. Thank you for commenting, liking the show, continuing to come back and listen to me ramble about baseball with all of my friends in the Arkansas market for as long as you guys let me do. Here's where I will wrap this show with. If we look at the last couple of days, midweeks are very interesting. You had on Tuesday 4 of the top 6 teams fall: UCLA, USC, Arkansas, Georgia Tech. Then on Wednesday, Oklahoma also lost as well. So 5 of the top 14 teams fell. You had Georgia, who lost the game on Wednesday as well. So results this early in the season don't mean anything. I expect out of those 6 teams I just said, 2 to 3 of them to make Omaha. So there's a whole lot of season left. What happens on a random Tuesday or Wednesday in February does not mean that the season is doomed and these teams won't make Omaha. I'm very certain some of these teams will end up going to the College Baseball World Series. We just have to play the season out. Again, you saw a couple of years ago, Florida felt like they lost every midweek game and still made it to Omaha under Kevin O'Sullivan. So there's a lot of things that can go right or wrong. So my point is right now, don't get discouraged by these midweek results. We'd like to think this Arkansas team is going to figure it out. And look, take every day at a time. It's one day at a time. Be where your feet are at home. I'm sure this Arkansas Razorback team is. They'll welcome UT Arlington, as well as Arkansas softball hosting Omaha, Kansas, as well as some other very fun teams, Boise State and Charlotte, this upcoming weekend. So as always, thank you for tuning into the Rubber Match. I'm your host, Evan Kamiko. Thanks to Ethan Westerman for hopping on. We'll see you back here next week on a new episode of the Rubber Match.